Welcome back to Jamano News for today, and we brought you the standard newspaper once again. And on the standard newspaper we have our headlines as Gambian woman died last night from her injuries after a flat fire, which was also killed her two children in Nottingham, UK, according to the BBC. Activists urges African leaders to stop EU from harassing migrants. Funny man shot dead. And also a UTG student takes wife to court. And now we have our main stories in details. A Gambian woman died last night from her injuries after a flat fire, which also killed her two children in Nottingham. A Gambian woman died last night from injuries after a flat fire, which also killed her two children in Nottingham, UK, according to BBC England report yesterday. The girls, aged 3 and 1, died in hospital after a blast in Ferries, close Clinton on Sunday morning. A 31-year-old man from Clifton has been arrested on suspicions of murder. He is also being questioned on suspicion of attempted murder. The girl's mother, a 28-year-old woman, is confirmed by close source to be a Gambian by the name Binta Sirif. Inspector Carl Thomas from the Nottingham Fire Police said, "We will turn every single stone to make sure the family will get justice." A joint investigation by the police and fire service concluded the fire was started deliberately. Police said officers will be carrying out high visibility patrols in the area to offer reassurance to the community that this matter is being dealt with at the highest level. Police started a murder investigation alongside the fire service after being called to the house at about 4 p.m. on Sunday. The force said the blast in a fire flat a two-story residential property was started deliberately. Neighboring properties were temporarily excavated as crew tackled the fire. That was the story of the woman who died in England as a Gambian. The activist urges African leaders to stop EU from harassing migrants. And therefore we have the Gambians, Africans, who are very much prominent in the issue of EU harassing African migrants in the European Union. A respected Gambian migrant activist based in Germany has called on African government to ask the European Union to stop harassing migrants. Yaya Sonko told the Standard yesterday that African leaders should start blaming the European Union instead of their citizens who are taking irregular routes to look for basic human needs that Africa was deprived of by its slave masters. As a Gambian German-based migrant activist, I am calling on my government and other African heads to emulate Ghanaian President Nana Akufo-Addo, who in 2018 spoke against the cold-hearted treatment of African migrants in Europe. The Gambian president did not mince words when he criticized the inhuman and abusive treatment of African migrants in Europe. Sonko said, he said the Ghanaian president made those comments when the Deputy Prime Minister of Italy, Matteo Salvini, called on him at the presidency during his time as Italian Prime Minister. The Ghanaian head of state had emphasized that it was unacceptable for our African youth to be treated in that manner, simply because they were irregular migrants in the European Union. He told the Italian authority that in the 19th century, Europeans, including Italians, fled to the United States in their numbers due to poverty because their countries in those days were not considered as countries of opportunities. According to Sonko, the phenomenon of migration in Africa is not different from the phenomenon of migration in their history. The connection between migration and poverty is direct. Both EU and African governments should take irregular migration with seriousness instead of politicizing it. Irregular migration is a global problem, and a global problem needs a global solution. European Union and African governments should join hands in addressing the root causes of irregular migration, preventing and fighting smuggling and trafficking, strengthening protection for people fleeing their homes, improving cooperation on return and reintegration, and advancing the possibility for legal migration so that few Africans might try dangerous irregular migration, he added. Reports from the survivors related to IOM indicate that at least 252 people have died during the alleged forced expulsion by European authorities, also known as pushback, since 2021. According to a report, beyond a structural failure to provide adequate safe pathways, missing migrants project records shows that many of the deaths on migratory routes to destination countries in Europe could have been prevented by prompt and effective assistance to migrants in distress. And that was the comments of the Gambian activist Yahya Sonko, who based in Germany. And also we bring you the story of 4 new man shot dead. According to the Standard newspaper, police have confirmed report of the death of one Yankuba Baji by a suspected gunshot in Casamas, just off the border from his native Jivanga village. According to Assistant Superintendent Mohamed Dawo, eyewitnesses have said Baji was shot and killed across border in Casamas, where he was collecting firewood with some friends. He told the Standard that police sent a team to investigate the incident and have so far discovered from eyewitness that 3 young men, Lamin Jaju, Bakari Jiba and Yankuba Baji, were fetching firewood near Jiboro in Casamas when the incident happened. He said the witness reported seeing a drone, after which they heard the sound of gunfire and then saw their friend Yankuba on the ground in a pool of blood. He said Yankuba was later confirmed dead in a nearby hospital in the Gambia. The Standard could not confirm who shot Baji, but many sources suggested that the shot came from Senegalese soldiers stationed across the border. The spokesman of the Gambian army said they have sent a patrol team there to find out. So far, both Senegalese and Gambian government had not made any public statement on the matter. Contacted for comment, economic spokesperson said the shot did not come from the economic contingent. And that was the story for the Gambian man living 4 years shot dead in Casamas. UTG student takes wife to court. Another story from the Standard newspaper, a UTG student takes wife to court. Boubacar Diagne, a student at the University of the Gambia, has instituted a civil suit against the West African Examination Council, WAEC, before the High Court in Banjul. Boubacar Diagne is seeking the High Court order for WAEC to produce his complete and certified 2021 private examination script for the West African Senior Secondary School Certificate Examination. When the matter came up before the presiding Judge Justice Ibrahim Jaite, the lawyer representing WAEC, Barrister S.K. Job, raised preliminary objection and urged the court to strike out the suit. Noting that the suit was incompetent before the court, Counsel Job pointed out the matter cannot be determined under the originating summons. He further argued that the originating summons is incompetent and has no legal basis, adding that the relief sought by Boubacar Diagne cannot be granted by the court. The plaintiff, who informed the court that he would represent himself, craved the court's indulgence to grant him a short adjournment to prepare and respond to the preliminary objection raised by the defendant. Justice Ibrahim Jaite therefore adjourned the matter to the 14th of December 2022 for Boubacar Diagne to respond to the preliminary objection raised by the defendant. That was the story from the University of the Gambia by a student who takes wife to court for her results certificate and completion. And we recap on our main stories. That is, a Gambia woman died last night from her injuries after a flat fire, which also killed her 2 children in Nottingham, United Kingdom. Activists urges African leaders to stop EU from harassing migrants. 4 man shot dead, and UTG student take wife to court. Those were our stories for today at Jamano Media. At Kanifin here, I am your presenter, Adam Anjay. Thank you for joining us.